In the Bible, we are told that God will preserve his word. He did not limit that promise to just the Old Testament. Since the New Testament is also God's word, he has included it in his promise. One of the ways we know God has kept his word is by the number of ancient manuscripts that have been uncovered over the centuries. There have been so many ancient manuscripts discovered that if you line them up, the amount of ancient biblical manuscripts reaches roughly 2.5 miles in length. For the New Testament, we have over 23,000 manuscripts, with almost 6,000 of them in the Greek language. Some of these are mere fragments, but they still constructively contribute to our knowledge of the New Testament. The Old Testament has roughly 11,000 manuscripts, with some people claiming the number has reached 40,000 or more, including fragments. These are just the ancient manuscripts. If you count the many translations and versions published throughout history, we are talking millions of manuscripts that contain God's word. How does this information compare to other ancient writers? First, the gap between the original writing and copies of the Bible is less than 100 years. For secular ancient authors, this gap ranges from 500 to 1400 years, depending on the ancient author. The ancient writer with the most extant copies of his work is Homer. His Iliad has 643 extant copies, with the oldest dating 500 years after Homer originally wrote it. Sophocles is the next ancient writer with 193 extant copies, but the oldest is dated to 1000 AD, roughly 1400 years after Sophocles wrote his original work. Aristotle, who lived between 384 to 322 BC, has only 49 extant copies. The earliest one dates to 1100 AD, 1400 years after Aristotle originally wrote. When it comes to the accuracy of these secular extant copies, only Homer's is judged to be 95% accurate, while the extant Bible's manuscripts are judged to be 99.5% accurate, and not one of the inaccuracies alters or denies any key doctrinal point. Even if we did not have these early manuscripts, it is said that the Church Fathers quoted the New Testament so much that we can reconstruct it minus only 11 verses. We cannot say the same thing for Manetho, who gave us the Pharaoh's list in his works. His works do not survive except via quotes from other ancient authors. God has kept his word and preserved what he wrote in both the Old and New Testaments so that everyone has the chance to learn about his son Jesus and find salvation through him. When people claim that the Bible has been edited many times throughout history, do not believe them. We have the manuscript evidence to prove them wrong. The biblical content is the same in the modern world as it was in the ancient world. No one has different biblical content or instructions.